my friends are simps.
When I was a wee guy, whiskey kind of all tasted the same to me. There were some notable outliers like Lafroig, however in general I didn't really get what all of the fuss was about. This all changed a number of years later when I took a trip to the island of Islay with my pals. We did a bunch of different whiskey tastings, and in one particular tour we got to try some very premium and expensive whiskey, and as soon as that glorious nectar touched my lips, a whole new world of possibilities opened up to me. So why am I telling you this now in this particular video? Well, in the world of headphones, there are a variety of different price ranges, from the very cheap and very crappy to the kind of respectable mid-range, all the way up into the dizzying heights of thousands of pounds per pairs. Now, I'm somebody that enjoys decent headphones. I like experimenting with sound, hearing how different sets can, change the listening experience. And I learned a long time ago that I wasn't somebody that enjoyed, just the £2 to £20 range that you get from the supermarket. I liked spending a wee bit more money so that I could, get a nicer, more pleasant experience. Now, with that said, I haven't quite yet made the jump from the £300–400 range above that into the true audiophile territory, and part of the reason is that I just don't know whether the added cost is going to be noticeable by me or worth the expenditure. I've always been really curious about trying some more premium headphones to see if, like my experience with the whiskey, I could, come into a whole new world of oral pleasure, which is not the phrase I was intending to use, but anyway. This brings us on to the subject of this particular video, which is the Meze 109 Pros. A month or so ago, I did a video on the Meze 99 Classics, which are a really great pair of closed-back headphones. When I published that video, a bunch of people asked me if I'd tried out the 109 Pros to see what I thought about them in comparison. These are a much more premium offering from Meze, and so I reached out to them to ask if they had any review copies available, and they sent me a unit as a loaner to check out for a couple of weeks. Now, these headphones retail at around 800 Great British pounds at the time of recording, which is a significant step up from the roughly £300 mark of the 99 Classics. These are the most expensive headphones I have ever tried. In doing this kind of review, I was most curious to see if there was a noticeable difference between those two pairs and that kind of jump between, mid-range, decent headphone to the more premium audiophile level. And so that's what I'm going to be talking a bit about today in this video. I wouldn't class myself as an audiophile by any stretch of the imagination, so if you're looking for that kind of in-depth analysis, then you'd be better looking off elsewhere. I am more an audio enthusiast who enjoys, better audio, and I like making music, obviously, but I'm not in the kind of realms of frequency graphs and all that kind of stuff, so take all of that into consideration when you're watching this. The first thing to talk about is the build quality and the features of the 109 Pros. The first thing to say is that there is no doubt whatsoever that these headphones are a premium offering when you first look at them. Everything about them feels well put together and solid. Even the included case that comes with the 109 Pros feels particularly premium and nice. I don't really know if it's real leather or whatever, I haven't looked at that, but it's it's a nice bit of kit. The 109 Pros have got large dynamic drivers that come in at 50mm, which means that the ear cups correspondingly are also very large, and they surround your ears completely, which is good for me as somebody with big ears, glasses and various piercings that always get in the way with headphones. They're not a problem with these. The pads themselves are velour on the surface and they are extremely soft. They're actually much more pleasant than I thought they would be, because I'm not a huge fan of velour ear cups historically. I don't love the ones that you get on the Beyerdynamic headphones and things like that. These feel way better than those do. The headphones themselves have got wooden ear cups similar to the 99 Classics, and they just look fantastic. They have this kind of reassuring weight to them, which also simultaneously isn't too heavy, as in it doesn't get fatiguing over time. At least I haven't experienced that in all of the hours that I've been listening to these. One of the features that I really like about the Meze headphones is that the headband automatically adjusts when you put it on, so you don't need to fumble about trying to adjust each individual ear cap with plastic or metal clips or anything like that. They are just instantly comfortable and sit perfectly on your dome. Overall, they are very comfortable indeed. When it comes to the construction, my understanding is that like other Meze headphones, they can be completely easily disassembled so that in future you can replace individual parts if they go bad, which is a big plus in this era of, replaceability and sustainability. Now, when it comes to how these headphones compare to the 99 Classics, there are a bunch of differences between them, even though cosmetically they may look similar. The most obvious thing is that these are open back headphones, not closed back, so there is a significant difference even in the style of headphone. The 99 Classics are a great set of headphones in of their own right, but everything about the 109s feels like a significant upgrade, which is saying quite a lot actually. The headband, for example, on the 109s is larger and also feels softer. The metal that's in there feels heavier and there's less of that kind of resonance that you might get on the 99 Classic sometimes if you moved around or pinged it a wee bit. That issue seems to be completely gone, which is great to see. All of the accessories that are included are more premium, like I mentioned, the case, but everything else in there feels a bit more quality as well. Overall, there's definitely a noticeable difference between the two. I have to say that if I'm just looking at the build quality of these, I'm already really impressed. Now let's come on to the most important part, which is the sound. Without exaggeration, I have to say that I think these are the best sounding headphones I have ever tried. The first time I listened to music on the 109 Pros, it reminded me of that first time that I tried the premium whiskey, where I tasted it and went, ah. So that's what the difference is. I was hearing timbres and harmonic overtones and songs that I know and love that I had never noticed before. For example, the resonance of the snare drum or the tom, which could easily get lost in amongst the other elements on different sets of headphones. It is honestly amazing that you can listen to a record hundreds and hundreds of times and yet still find different elements that you've never noticed before, and that's partly why I love experimenting with different audio output sources and, music in general. The very first song that I listened to on the 109 Pros was Once in a Lifetime by the Talking Heads, and I just was enveloped in the different sounds as they swirled around my ears. There was a real separation between the instruments that was kind of an amazing experience to have. Now, the thing about these headphones is that they can really highlight recording inaccuracies or imperfections. So I was listening to some tracks that I know for a fact were recorded on tape, and I could hear when the vocal mic track came in after the gap in the chorus, that kind of air or the subtle wee hiss that you hear right before somebody starts singing, and I had never noticed that before, despite these being some of my favourite songs. And so in that regard, these are quite revealing, maybe unforgiving headphones at times. Listening to my own music in that respect has been quite the experience, in that beforehand I've been, mixing and mastering on different sets of headphones and speakers, but these can really give you a much more detailed sense of what's going on, and in that way actually I think they'd be really good for that as a, at least a part of your mastering process if you make music. In terms of how the frequencies sit, obviously this is always going to be subjective and, you'll have your own experience there, but I find them to be really well balanced. Now, I'm a big fan of bass. I really like experiencing thick, heavy, but also punchy bass in a mix that is offset by, just the right amount of snare, crack, and everything else. And this is something that I often struggle to find with headphones. And I have to say that with the 109 Pros, there is more than enough bass in there. It isn't overwhelming or muddy in any way, but it is present to the extent that even though I would usually kind of punch up or push up the bass within an EQ, irrespective of what headphones I was using, I didn't have to do that with these at all. The bass was perfect as it was. Complementing the bass, there's also a nice forwardness of the upper mids and trebles. Now, in writing down my notes, I said there was a sting initially, and I don't think that's the right word because it implies there's some sort of harshness or unpleasantness, and that is definitely not the case. But there is just enough of a forwardness in there or a presence around that kind of frequency area that gives you just the right amount of balance between the bass and the hi-hats and the vocals that kind of sit in that region to make it really nicely balanced. And it's overall, it works. I don't want to use the word perfectly, but yes, it's about as close as I've come to finding in a set of headphones anyway. I've tried these headphones out with a bunch of different genres because often what I find is that headphones can be suitable for one particular genre but are not another. You know, where I might love them for electronica but not for hip hop or rock or something like that. But in this case, I went from techno to chill out to lo-fi hip hop to 90s garage rock to alternative rock to, you know, jazz and everything in between, and they just handled everything very nicely indeed. Now the impedance of these headphones is 40 ohms with a sensitivity of, and I'll try and remember this off the top of my head, 112 decibels at 1 kilohertz. That means that they are extremely easy to drive, and to be honest, I've just been using them largely with my MacBook Pro 16 inches, you know, audio output. I haven't felt the need to dig out an external amp or digital audio converter or anything like that. I did try them with my FIO E10K, which I think was the Olympus 2, which I often use to juice up headphones a wee bit, but I didn't notice a massive difference there, and it's certainly not required. You can easily power these from your portable devices, which is kind of wild thinking about how good they sound, actually. With that said, they do really sing when you crank the volume a wee bit, and when I was listening to one of my favourite tracks, which is Thumbscrews by the Jesus Lizard, when I turned it up, you know, to 11, I literally sat there with my mouth hanging open. This is not an exaggeration, it really did sound that good. And in fact, I'm gonna go listen to that again after I've finished recording this because it was fucking brilliant. All in all, these do sound fantastic, and I can't really stress that enough. Obviously, the listening experience is not going to be the same every single time you sit down because, you know, you get used to quality and you begin to take it for granted. But all I had to do was go back to a very cheap set of headphones and then put these on again to realise, yeah, these really are something special. These headphones cost a pretty penny. There is no way around it. They are not a cheap offering. They are not the kind of thing that you just buy on a whim, at least not if you're a normal person with kind of regular financial means. However, having said that, these are genuinely, without any bias or, you know, ulterior motive, the greatest headphones I have ever tried. They are incredibly comfortable and they also sound excellent. Since I've got a hold of them, there's no exaggeration to say that I've barely taken them off. At least any time when I've been sitting in front of my computer, which is a fair amount of the day, I have to say, these are the headphones that I've been reaching for. And in all honesty, sometimes I've just sat there with them on my head without anything playing through them because they are that comfortable and I've forgotten they were there. I haven't got fatigue or, you know, hot ears or anything like that. These are a premium set of headphones that are ideal if you want to really sit and enjoy listening to music. They're especially good if you're somebody that works from home or if you want more detailed monitoring when you're recording or writing music. They're probably not ideal for the office environment because of their open back nature. They answer the question of whether or not you can definitively tell the difference between a mid-range and a premium set of headphones quite clearly, at least for me. Unfortunately, for me at least, this particular pair of headphones is a sample set, and so I do have to return them to Meze in the coming days. I toyed with the idea of just disappearing. They have my address because they sent them to me, but I thought, you know, I could move house if need be. However, in the end, I've decided that I'm actually going to buy my own pair because they really are fantastic. And if that isn't a ringing endorsement, then I don't really know what is. So that's my take on the Meze 109 Pros. I fear that they've opened the door to a whole other world of expensive headphones, but I would say that I think these are probably ideal for somebody like me who wants to make the jump into the world of audiophile headphones without having to faff about with DACs and special amps and all that kind of thing, or indeed worrying about what set of headphones would pair well with the particular genre of music you want to listen to. They are an incredibly good all-rounder, and I'm very impressed. Until next time, see you later.